Hi there. Culture. Every rugby team has it, whether it be good, bad or indifferent. Whatever the case, it's good to know that a good team culture will galvanise a team spirit and make people want to play for that team. We're here today in sunny and windy Dunedin to talk to a man who knows about how good culture not only brings a great, enjoyable environment, but also successful winning of trophies. Rugby is more than just a tackle or a pass or a scoreboard or a trophy. People play rugby because they love it. There is a bond and an energy about rugby that is often invisible. That's culture. Brownie, thanks for joining the rugby site this afternoon here in Dunedin. We on the rugby site have a lot of drills and skills. We wanted to have a look at some of the invisible stuff, culture and that side of things. So I'm keen to ask you a few questions. Where did you start playing rugby and coaching rugby, and how has your start affected the cultures that you bring to your own coaching?
Yeah, I grew up in Otago, and I was lucky enough to play for Otago in the mid-90s, and that's where it all started. And yeah, it was a pretty exciting time, amateur time, heading into professional rugby. So, you know, for me it was the ideal place to start and be influenced by a pretty good bunch of guys.
You've had a lot of experience offshore. You've been to Japan, South Africa, as well as New Zealand, playing for the All Blacks and Otago. How are those different environments you've been put in changed or affected the way you perceive culture?
Yeah, I think obviously my first assignment overseas was going to play in Japan and play for a Japanese team, Sanyo, which is now Panasonic, and just being thrown in that environment as one of about 3 foreigners was very interesting, and just the different culture in Japanese rugby sort of blew me away a bit, and you know, it was very hard to change, but when you did achieve a little bit of change, then the results were huge, and you know, I guess that's when I started to fall in love with coaching and just how you could influence players to you know, perform as a team.
Has going to those different environments sort of opened your eyes to different ways of doing things?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going there and observing the different culture and how different players prepare and how different coaches coach. If you just sit back and watch and observe, and I think then you can get a really good understanding of how you can help. So I think that's what I did, and then when I went to South Africa, it was completely different as well. And I think the way that I coach now and my philosophies on rugby now is sort of built around all 3 countries that I've played in.
What are your philosophies on coaching?
I think where I started with Otago, and you know, it's always talked about that we have a special culture down here, and I think that's the first philosophy I have, is that everything's got to be you know, team first, and everything's got to be around the team environment and creating that culture. And if we can create that team environment and the culture, then the team's going to be successful, and the players are going to enjoy their rugby, and you're going to create friendships for life, really.
A lot of people talk about the word culture, but some new coaches and to some new to rugby, culture is not an easily definable word. What is culture?
I think it's just every single player buying in 100% to the vision, to something greater than themselves. I think, you know, if a player comes into a team and they can buy in, and they can buy into the team and sort of leave their individual ambitions sort of aside and just fully commit to the team ambition, I think that's when you know that your culture's good and the environment's good.
What are some of the indicators when your culture is bad or perhaps not as good as it could be?
Yeah, I guess it's the opposite of that. It's individuals thinking about themselves first, worrying about individual performance before the team performance. I guess it's standards slipping, whether you guys are late or you know, guys just making poor decisions, poor individual decisions that affect the team, really.
Is there a difference between on and off the field?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think you know, if you've got a really good team culture that the whole team's buying into, then you'll see guys hanging out together a lot. You'll see that lead on into trainings, and then having fun at trainings, everyone enjoying coming to work, and just creating great friendships that are going to last for a long time, and not just about winning rugby games. It's more than that, and I think off-field culture, if it's strong and boys have a good time together and they hang out together a lot and they're building great friendships, then on the field they're just going to perform better as a team, and I think you're going to get better results as a rugby team.
How do you build culture?
The most important part is you've got to create something for the players to buy into, something that, like I said at the start, is something that's greater than themselves, something that they can go, I'm part of that. And you've got to be able to make every single player in the team feel as though they're adding value to your vision. I think if you can let every single player know that they're adding something to the team, then they're going to want to buy in. And if you have a group of leaders who are willing to drive that vision and create that culture that you're trying to make, then you know you're going to be a lot more successful in creating a really good team culture.
What would you recommend for a new coach looking to build a culture? Where would they start? Is it important to look back to history?
Yeah, I think 100%. You've got to have your own vision, but 100% you've got to talk to your senior players, and you've got to try and get their buy-in and their thoughts on where you want to go as a team. And if you can get 100% alignment on that, and then it's easy to influence the other guys and get the buy-in from the other guys to really commit to that vision. And I think a big part of creating a culture is actually using the history of the team and using past experiences and teaching the players about that, because if the players know a little bit about the history and understand the history, then they want to try and create their own history, and I think that's really important as well.
What are some of the really clear-cut blockers to promoting good culture?
I guess just the character of the players. You're better off with a lesser player if he's the right character for the team, rather than a great individual who's not a team man. So 100% of the time I would take the character over the individual player. If he's not willing to buy into the culture, that's just going to cause massive rifts through the team, and one rotten egg will break everything you're trying to do, because that one guy's going to get another 3 guys to go with him, and then next thing you know, you split your team in half and you're not going to be successful. So for me, selection and character is really important to creating a great culture.
If culture is a spectrum from good culture at one end and bad culture on the other end, do you agree that the further you go towards having a really good culture, the player-led and player-driven stuff becomes more apparent?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you've got a really successful culture that's thriving, then you'll notice that a lot of players are wanting to help the team evolve and get better. A lot of the leaders are going to want to have, input and in the way that you play, what we're doing on and off the field. And then your coaches and your senior players are just going to be 100% aligned, and everyone's just pulling in the same direction, really. And I think that's how you can be really successful as a team.
Thanks, Tony, for spending a bit of time talking to the rugby site. So there it is, insight from Tony Brown on creating culture. Culture's a little bit different to skills and drills. It's not always one clear way of doing it. But if you can create something which is bigger than the players themselves, if you can create them playing for something more than just the game, then you really can create this invisible force, this bond, this energy, this friendship, which in turn can lead to really good results on the field.